If you were to ask 17-year-old me if Gilmore Girls would ever be a show that I would ever consider watching, I would tell you hell no. If you were to then ask me if Gilmore Girls was a show that I would end up watching in less than a month, I would tell you to go to hell. 6 years later, and I have done both. Gilmore Girls has this incredible homey feeling that I don't think I have ever seen in any other TV show. Recognized as one of the best comfort shows of the 2000s, if I could describe this show in one word, I would say refreshing. With the quote-unquote teen dramas I grew up with as an adolescent, by the end of this show's 7th and final season, it feels like the end of an era. Seeing that the next year would introduce a complete new era of teen dramas, ones that were raunchier, with even more mature subject matter than even the most controversial shows before its time. Now, I want to get this out of the way before we get into the subject of this weekly yapathon, because I want to stress this before I get going and I can't stop. I think this show is absolutely phenomenal, and I wish I would have watched it earlier in my life. A complete slice of life journey that follows a mother and daughter as life goes on. That's it. No secret cancer diagnosis, no drug dealers looking to kill them if they don't have XYZ amounts of money by the end of season 3. No impossible redemption arcs for completely awful human beings. We do get a secret love child, but I digress. And if you watch this and think, ugh, this guy is so pretentious, please don't. Every show that I just described there, I absolutely love. But I just think with the shows I've watched, from the Riverdales to the Euphorias to the Gossip Girls to the Skins to the Degrassi's, a show like Gilmore Girls is a refreshing step back. To watch Rory grow up with the help of her mother, grandparents, and pretty much the whole towns of Stars Hollow. To watch Lorelai and Suki finally get the end that they had been working on for the entire series, and the rest of the vast and hilarious background characters run around the small town on their various adventures. It made for a very enjoyable and fairly quick watch. Now, I watched a few videos, read a few Reddit posts, a few Twitters. It seems like we all can agree on the massive reverse character development of the series' main protagonist, Rory Gilmore. By the end of season 4, it seemed like everything was taking a turn for the better. Lorelai had finally secured the end and had finally expressed her true feelings for Luke. Rory was hitting her stride at Yale, and even most of the B and C plots from the background characters were coming along nicely. For example, Lane finally starting her band and finding a love interest in Zach. Everything was going smooth as hell until about the last 5 minutes of season 4. And I know, trust me, this isn't gonna dissolve into some diatribe about how the innocence and the hominess of the show was destroyed after Rory and Dean got it in, or anything like that. I'm not an idiot. At that point, they were 19, 20 years old. I'm not gonna bitch about two adults having consensual sex when there's literal shows depicting teens. You know what? Never mind. Listen. Dean cheating with Rory was not the reason for Rory's character development decline, but it did serve as a writing on the wall, especially afterwards. The argument with Lorelai showcasing how unreasonable and unwilling to take accountability Rory had become at that very moment. This one bad decision would lead to a snowball effect of them that can only be explained with this blanket statement. As much as a prodigy as Rory had been depicted as throughout this show, she never really grows up. I mean, her dropping out of college after being told she wasn't good enough to work at one of the thousands of major newspapers in America. Her deciding to leave Lorelai's house to stay with Emily and Richard in a play that I don't think I'll ever understand. Her joining the AARP or whatever the hell that was with Emily. She went into Yale majoring in a field where she would more than likely be told the phrase, "No, this won't work, you won't work," about 95% of the time. And she folded after her first no. It took Emily and Richard turning the heat up on her ass, taking away privileges that she had living with them, to finally come to her senses. And listen, she was young and had all the time in the world to make the mistakes she did. But the way she was depicted during the end of season 5 was nothing short of a spoiled rich kid who was never told that life would be this way. I'm sorry, that was... Look, and as much as we can, and trust me, I'd love to blame Rory's complete and utter breakdown on the 32-year-old teenager that is Lorelai Gilmore. Emily and Richard Gilmore should share just as much blame. They too hopped on the Rory Gilmore hype train, throwing money at the two, holding Rory's education over her head to, if we're being honest here, get the Ivy League daughter that they never got with Lorelai. Remember, folks, if you actually cared about helping that person, you would do it. No charge, no catch-22s, no holding your favors against them. And this is why I absolutely love season 6 of this show. Outside of Luke's secret daughter, of course, that she was asked, we get Rory finally snapping the hell out of it and going back to school, hungrier and as motivated as ever. We also get possibly the best scene out of the entire show, the episode 13 dinner argument scene between the tag team of the Lorelais versus Emily and Richard. In a 5 to 10 minute cut heavy edited masterpiece, we get all the cards thrown on the table at one time. 5.5 seasons of frustration finally boiling over as the family goes from arguing in one shot to smiling and laughing in the next, just for the shot after to be a completely new argument, ranging from Rory dropping out of college to Lorelai's teen pregnancy, up to Emily's elder women's club and Richard going window shopping for airplanes. But of course, through all the coddling, shielding of the outside world, through the adults living vicariously through a 16-year-old, Rory got through it, and in season 7 is all worth it at the end. Lorelai gets Luke, Rory graduates and gets a very great job on the Obama campaign trail, and they all live happily ever after. Now, this is the moment where I am obligated to talk about the reboot. The reboot sucks, man. Like, imagine watching this show as it came out, waiting 6 to 7 years and watching as these characters grow as people, find love, and finally find their place in society, just for the writers to say, man, that, they're all losers again. 10 years later in a reboot that is nowhere near as homey and vibrant as the OG. The jokes don't hit as well. Most of them come off as corny. That 30 plus club or whatever that was, that shit was awful. The history of Stars Hollow play, concept, scene, thing is possibly top 10 worst I've ever watched, which was probably the point, but I'm still deducting points for making me watch it too. By the end, nothing really happens. I mean, of course, the infamous final 4 words would give the otherwise boring mini-season a needed kick in the ass, but at that point, it was literally the end of it. The last 5 seconds of it. It was far too late. Rory was back in Stars Hollow, was pregnant, and was running the newspaper of the small town. Other than that, it was just them going like, you remember Taylor? He's crazy as hell, right? Remember Jess? Oh, remember Dean? Oh, how much fun we had. Oh my God, is that Melissa McCarthy? And look, it would have worked if it didn't feel so dull. I mean, I'm sure the final 4 words were used by the writers in an attempt to nudge Netflix into giving them a actual full-on reboot, but Netflix wasn't going. So there lied one of the best comfort shows of the 2000s, ended on a 4-word, one more season bait line. What a way to go out. Thanks for watching. My name is Michael Clark. I am Milk. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.